Welcome to the Epic Company Culture Podcast, where your host, Josh Sweeney, will give you, the business leaders, HR professionals, and company culture aficionados, the knowledge you need to take your company culture to the next level.
Hello, fellow culturists, and welcome to the Epic Company Culture Podcast. Today is part of our Culture Champions series. Before I get started, I would like to thank Prototype Prime for this amazing podcast space. We are joined by Josh Axelberd with Displayit. Welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me, Josh.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
So Displayit is a company that provides trade show displays through the internet to customers. So we were really the first company in 1997 to create a website with prices on it to sell trade show displays direct through the internet. And my dad started the company in 1996. I was working with another trade show company at that time, and in 99, I left the company I was working for to go to work for my dad. And the guys I was working with said, "We got this Y2K thing coming up, and I just think it's all going to be messed up. You can't do this. Don't leave. It's a really bad idea." But I think we proved otherwise.
Yeah, it seemed to work out. I mean, when I think through 90s websites, I think the first thing that comes into my head is like, I don't know when MySpace was invented, but I think of like lots of blinking ads and pretty interesting formats.
Yeah, so when I started in 99, we had to focus on driving traffic. Mm-hmm. And so we'd have, our white page with our slightly gray keywords down at the bottom, about
right.
4 paragraphs of keywords stuffed in so that you'd rank well on Alta Vista and Dogpile, and Yahoo was top dog at that time. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good old keyword stuffing to drive everybody in. Doesn't quite work the same anymore, does it?
Yeah, no, it's a much more complicated game. But today, we're really still the leader in the online world of portable trade show displays. We try to focus on the standard exhibits, repeatable design, so that we can offer them really easily, efficiently at great prices.
Awesome. So you said that you quit another job to come work with your dad in this new organization back then, right? Yeah. With the roles that you had in the past, what were some of the things that you ran into? What were some of the company cultures you ran into that you really enjoyed?
Yeah, so I really only had 2 real jobs before working with Displayit. And the first one was with a big newspaper company in the mid-'90s, right when I got out of college. And, it was really hard at that time to find a job. And so they wanted to hire me. I said, "When do I start?" That was a miserable place to work. A long timer there would be 1 year's time with the company. And it was I was in sales. It was a difficult product to sell even at that time. And, in my mindset at that point, the thought of a great culture was not even a word that was really even used. Everybody hated working, and you just tried to get through it Monday through Friday, and you made it to the weekend, and life was about the weekend. The thought of could a place be a good culture? Could it be a good place to work? Just never even crossed my mind at that point. The next job that I went to was a small business, and I learned a lot there. But again, there was never any kind of mindset of like, how do we make this a great place for people to work? And so, I can't say I really had any experience of thinking about a culture in a positive way.
Yeah, when you look back through those and you said, just not a good role for you, right? Not a good place to work. What were some of the aspects of that just weren't good?
I think that in the first job, the task that we were being asked to do, nobody thought was possible, right? So when you get ready for a Monday and you come to work and your boss doesn't think you even have a chance to be successful, it's a pretty miserable feeling. So I'd go out on sales calls, in a territory that was old and dying. And really the goal was figure out how to fill these 8 hours. I had some customers that I'd interact with, but I'd have 3-4 hours every day where I didn't really have any good idea how I was going to use my time. And that's a really dreadful feeling on a Sunday to go, I'm going to go spend the next 5 days killing time.
Right. Yeah. And they weren't giving you the facility to do it or the training, and they didn't think it was going to be successful. So it was just miserable all around, probably.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing they could have done. They recognized, look, our industry is shifting. And this was the early time of it shifting. But, all of us that worked there were right out of college. And there was no focus on really doing things to at least help us grow. So at least we felt like we were picking up skills and gaining knowledge.
Got it. Yeah. So those are some of the bad experiences. Were there anything in those prior organizations that you just really loved about the culture?
It's sad to say that, I had in the smaller company, I think you're more connected. You believed in what you were selling and what you were doing. But it was very much a culture where it's kind of every man for himself. Not that anybody was trying to undercut you, but, there was not an idea that other people were there to help you grow and help you discover, how to be successful. I mean, I think people would help you if they thought it was in their interest. And it wasn't like a mean-spirited culture. It was just very businesslike, and there was just really no thought given to how do we make this a great place to work.
Yeah, kind of show up, do your job, go home.
Yep,
that's about it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Displayit now. So fast forward along a little ways, right? What are some of the things you love about the culture now that you've implemented?
Yeah, so at Displayit, and I'll kind of go back a little bit because I think it sets up where we are today. When I started with my dad, late 99, I had the idea that, gosh, Dad, I'm looking at these healthcare rates for benefits, and I don't think we can ever afford to hire any employees. So I was developing these schemes to try to figure out, how to avoid ever having an employee.
It still feels the same way, I think, with the
yeah,
healthcare
it's
rates.
Like, man, what I wouldn't do to have those rates. So from about 99 to 2004, it was just my dad and I. But then we started to have some success. We started getting better at the internet marketing game, and we hired our first employees. And at that point, I was going through some experiences in my personal life where I go, I really want to make my life matter. I want to make it really count beyond just making trade show displays. And so I decided, kind of inspired from Chick-fil-A, and kind of co-opted their purpose a little bit, that the purpose of Displayit is going to be a blessing to clients, vendors, community, and team. Like, that's why I come to work. I want to really take care of customers, but more than that, I want to make this a great place for people to work so that they can grow and they feel that they're a better person from having interacted with our company. So that leads us to where we are today, and we have a team of about 90 people now. And it is the kind of place where people really feel valued. They feel that they're cared about by their coworkers and the ownership as well. So I'm extremely proud of that. We have 10 core values that are really important to the organization, and we really try to embrace them and dig into them. So that's my motivator. Like, sales is important. That's what keeps us going. But if people don't feel like they're cared about, then I feel like we're not being successful.
Yeah. So with those core values, how do you inject those into the day-to-day operations?
Yeah, it is very, very difficult. When you have 10 of them, I think in hindsight, I go back, I might have a shorter list, might go 5. But, when you have 10, it's really hard to teach them all and what they really mean. And we have a diverse workforce. We have sales and marketing, and then we have production. We have people that are printing graphics, doing sewing. So it's people from really diverse backgrounds, and so the values can mean different things to different people. But what we try to do is when instances come up, conflict, tension, challenge, we try to look to those and go, okay, what value is relevant here?
Yeah. And
how do we make the right decision based on those 10 values?
Yeah. So out of all 10, what's your favorite one?
I don't know if I'd call it my favorite. I would say the most important is we believe the best about our teammates. So I believe that's the most powerful one. And what I try to teach my team with that is that it does you no good to assume the worst about the intentions of your teammate, even if their intentions are bad. If you assume the worst, you build up tension, resentment, anxiety about the issues at hand, and then you don't go and discuss it with that person. But if you choose to, we're very ready to make an excuse for ourselves,
right?
But we don't have a lot of patience with other people. And if we try to assume the best about our teammates, we're more willing to go to them with an open mind, discuss what the issue is in a calm way so a productive solution can be found.
Yeah, that's a great value, a great way to look at it. I think it's come up before on the podcast, and I can't recall like where it originated. I think it was in some book where they went through the psychology of that and just how it can change other things in your life, not just the business of making that positive assumption instead of the negative assumption.
Yeah. I picked it up from Andy Stanley at North Point Church, and he talks about that a lot.
Awesome.
Messages.
Yeah, well, that's a great message. With the company culture you have now, I mean, what are some other aspects that you just really enjoy that you didn't get to experience early on in your career?
Fun is our secret weapon, is another one of our values, and we do a lot. We've got a great team member on our team who is just incredible at throwing parties and showing people those little extra touches to help them feel appreciated. So when we had the Waffle House food truck out, if we're going to have Valentine's Day, we're going to have a scavenger hunt where you can find different treats around and things like that. And those little touches, those special days that go extra where people don't expect it. It's more than just, hey, we're going to bring some food in.
Right.
But it's summertime. We have a beach bash, and we've got decorations up. And so I think just embracing that work should not be stale. It should not be boring. It should be a place where we come and it's hard. It can be challenging, but it's a lot of fun, and it doesn't have to be stuffy.
Yeah, out of all of those team building type activities and events you have, is there one team building event that you thought was just the best, like everybody gelled or it was super memorable for a certain reason? Is it normally the holiday party, or did you do an outing or anything like that?
Yeah, I think when they're just unexpected and they have a special angle to them, when people really appreciate it, like they go, they didn't just do this to check something off,
right?
On a to-do list. I think those are really special. But I think the ones that have the biggest impact are the more organic ones, when they just come about naturally. A group of people, say, let's get the softball team together, or let's do this. I think the ones that come organically are the ones I'm most proud of and have the biggest impact.
Yeah, and you mentioned that there was one person in your organization. Do you have a head of culture? Do you have a culture team? Like, how do those things come about organically? Who makes that happen?
Yeah, so in this case, this particular individual really runs one of our divisions from a marketing standpoint.
Okay.
But just has a passion for the Displayit culture and being a blessing to other people. And so I said, okay, I want about 75% of your job to be your marketing tasks, and 25% of your job is pour that blessing, that love into the group and the culture in unique ways, show people that they're cared for. And so that's kind of how that happened. And I think, I never set out to say, okay, we're going to allocate some time to this as a position, but the person who most cared about it kind of got the job because they showed they wanted to do it.
Yeah, I've heard that time and time again, where it seems like somebody kind of self-selected into a head of culture role, and it was, a portion of their time was allocated towards it, and sometimes it ends up being more and more of their time, and sometimes it ends up becoming their full-time job as the company grows. So I think it's a natural progression to have somebody just throw their hand up and say, I like to coordinate all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And then she's a great example for other people. And so if it looks more organic, then somebody else says, well, hey, yeah. I want to take something on. I want to do something to add to the culture here.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I found that there are people in my organization that are just much better at that than me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you find the same thing?
Absolutely. I love the idea of a great culture, but I think sometimes I'm so focused on what I want to get done that I'm not always as great on the one-on-one and the little moments and slowing down as I need to be. Like I want the culture, right? But it's just not. It's not at the core of who I am. I really care about people, but I am more of like, let's go, and do stuff.
I've definitely found the same thing for myself. So we have somebody else take care of that is amazing at it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So for the new year, we're into 2019. Well, a good bit into 2019 now so far, a couple months. What are you most looking forward to enhancing from a company culture perspective?
Yeah. So, I think that we've done a great job of showing our people that we care about them. I think the part that's been missing, and this kind of goes back to, from the very beginning, when we're a small company, I took the attitude that I want this place to be a great blessing to the people who work here. And I need to make that happen. I need to do the stuff. I need to make the company be successful, and I'm going to take care of everybody, right? But what was left out from that is the challenge aspect that I think is needed to truly have a great culture. And really just in this year, we're trying to bring that to the forefront. So what I mean by that is, I would be more apt of like, hey, I want this to be a great place to work. I'm not going to give my team, individual people, really big challenges that I think may be difficult, may bring stress, may even bring some tension or conflict. I'm not going to bring that because that's going to make them uncomfortable, right?
Okay.
Or maybe that's going to bring too much stress. But I think I've learned that that's unfair to do to the team because they're here. They're like, I want to take on a big challenge. I want to have the chance to try something, and I might fail, Josh. But that's okay. We're going to learn something, and we're going to grow, and we're going to move forward from that. So this is a really new concept. So when I start to communicate with my team, in the past, I probably haven't done a really good job of establishing real clear goals. And so when I share, hey, guys, we've come short of a goal, it's weird to them. It's like Josh is talking to us, and he's not all, rainbows and sunshine here, right?
Right.
And so they may overcorrect to that and I have to figure out how to find that balance and go, look, I'm the same person. I want the same things, but I am going to challenge you a lot more than I have in the past because I believe that's what's good for you and that's what's going to help you grow.
Yeah, so just to recap, the next goal is really to be able to set and communicate the goals more efficiently and then have goals that challenge the team to grow individually and as a team to hit those milestones.
Absolutely. Our company, when we hired our first employee in 2004, and then 2011, we had about 10 employees at that time. And then I really got good at Google AdWords. And each year I was cranking up the online digital marketing spend. The business is growing. I didn't really have to have dialed in strategies and goals because there was enough traffic coming in to keep the business growing. And then in the last couple of years, I've kind of maxed out the tools that I had been using for growth. And so 2018 was really all about analyzing what are we best at, where are the opportunities, and what are the things we need to accomplish to get where we need to go. And really, it took the whole year to really figure that out. And now I think we have a very clear direction of where we need to go. So now 2019 is absolutely about, okay, these are the bite-sized pieces that we need to accomplish step by step to get where we want to be at the end of this year, 2020, and beyond.
Yeah, it may just be me, but I'm also hearing a little bit of a parallel in the challenge of, you want to set out the challenge for your team, but in you maxing out the tools that you had used for years, there's new challenges for you as well,
Absolutely,
right? So
yeah.
It kind of happened in congruency there.
Yeah, I think, part of that too is that when we were a small business, up until the last 2 or 3 years ago, the things that made me a good leader of the company, that I could myself jump into Google AdWords, I could get on the website with product, I could make some things happen, I could move the ball forward. It's not really the case anymore that we are at the size organization we are with 90 people. So now it's about what can other people accomplish and how can I help them accomplish it. And so last year I didn't fully understand that yet. I felt like I could still work harder, spend more time myself, like making stuff, right? I jump in a situation, go, move out of the way, guys. Like, I got this. You just do what I tell you to do, right? And I discovered it's not going to work anymore. And so for this year, for me, it's about focusing on how do I take my knowledge and my skills and help multiply that through other people and them having the success, them accomplishing the objectives.
Yeah. So what's the plan? How do you plan to evolve as a leader to hit that objective? To go from, I think in past I've heard of like kind of the genius with 1,000 helpers kind of model where, you can really move those needles, in the business, and now you really have to help other people do it. So how does that look for the future for you?
Yeah. I think that for me, wanting to have control of too many things has been a weakness. It was probably a good thing earlier in the company, but now it's a weakness. The other aspect for me is I am very defensive about the things that I'm passionate about. So, when I set out to have a great culture, I want this place to be a blessing. If anybody was ever upset about the culture, I'm like, how can you be upset? This is really my number one motivator, which was true, right? But that defensiveness never allowed us to really tackle and talk about things as a group and really truly figure out, let me hear from my team to figure out what we need to consider to improve things. So that's the focus on me, is that I have got to go, I am not the only force of Displayit. Now, I've always appreciated my team. They've worked really hard, but you kind of have this thing that it's on me to make it happen.
Right. It's
not on me to make it happen, and I don't have control, and I have to accept that. And then the next piece of the puzzle is that I have to, forgive me, I lost my train of thought, but you heard where I was going from that
definitely.
Standpoint of being open to the feedback. Forgive me, open to the feedback of listening to other people, not being so quick to get defensive that I stop good ideas from rising to the top, to the front.
Well, I definitely found over the years as an entrepreneur, there's just different challenges. It feels like there's different challenges on us. If things go wrong, then payroll doesn't go out, and we have a lot of people depending on that. So I feel that there's easy ways to get defensive, especially when you've built it up over many, many years too. There's a lot of work and blood and sweat and tears that go into these things. So it's good to hear that, it's recognized and there's ways to work through those.
Yeah, it absolutely is. But you have to let that pressure go. You can't be the bottleneck in the organization. And when you get to the size of company that we are now, you've got to take some risks, and you've got to go out there, and you can't have your hands around everything all at once. And the only way you can really let the organization grow is to let go of it.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
For the vulnerability today. That was a lot of great shares. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in. Thank you for joining us on the Epic Company Culture Podcast. This has been a Culture Champions series. We'd like to thank Josh Axelberd for coming in with Displayit. Have a great day.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Epic Company Culture Podcast with Josh Sweeney. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. For additional content and transcripts, visit epicculture.co. If you have questions or topics you would like us to address or expand on, tweet us at epicculture1 or email at podcast@epicculture.co.